right, ladies, it sounds like you have great discussions happening, but I'm going to wrap you up. How do you like that? Wrapping up. All right. I know two things that are solid. Lunch is almost ready. And the second thing is I'm a fraud. I am not the grape grower. That would be Wally, darling. I am the tag-along that has learned things along the way. And so that's where I'm coming to share the things that I've learned. But first I want to know, because I want to know if I say, I tried to get Wally to come. He is fearful of talking in front of crowds. Like that is a genuine fear for him. So I was like, could you just come and sit? And you can correct me. He does that really well. And guess what he planned to do today? He's roofing our shop with a crew of boys. So he knew he couldn't come today. So, do any of you grow grapes? If you do, raise your hand. Good. Okay, you ladies, you're going to correct me. All right? No, I'm honest. Because I could tell something false and not be intentional. Really. So these are the things I do know about grapes. The first thing, it is about the soil. And grapes hate wet feet. They do not like to have their roots in water. So when you plant new baby grapes, and especially if you think of like California or Italy, some places where it's very dry, they'll plant the new plants and they'll put a drip system on them till they get established. And then they cut it off. Why do you think that they stop watering those plants? This is interactive. I don't do this way, I do this way. Remember, I am usually in the children's wing. I could sit on the floor with you, and Janice, if you start running away, I'm gonna just take you, and I'm gonna grab you and sit you on my lap, girl. And you're gonna turn the pages, and you're gonna... So, why do you think they stop watering the young plants? Great. They want the roots to go down. If you're watering, that water is on the surface, and their roots are going to spread out. They're not going to go down. And we want them to go down. Why do you think we want them to go down into the ground? Good foundation. It really is about the nutrients in the soil. Now, I hope I don't shock any of you girls. I really enjoy wine. My husband makes wine. Don't tell anybody, okay? But it is interesting to go taste grapes before they've even been made out of wine in the different areas and the different terroirs. So, why do you think that might be? Exactly. Farmer Norma has the right answer. I knew I could count on her. It's no different than any other crop, right? It is. It's your soil. So if you have a real high mineral-based soil with certain rocks in it, your grapes are going to taste way different than a different soil that has a different mineral or different rocks, because it's pulling those nutrients from that, and it gives it a very distinct taste. Do you think they like to grow on flat land? No. Why? Don't be shy. Angie, do you have any idea, girlfriend? You're not a farmer. Someday. I agree with you, someday. Rocky. No. It is really about the sun and about the drainage of the water. If you're flat land, it's going to pool down there, right? So we want it to drain. And when it rains, we want it to run by. And those roots are going to be grabbing that moisture down there and pulling from that water as it's going through all those different layers. It's not rainwater, right? By the time it's going through all of that soil. So it's picking that up. They also like to be a certain pitch on I'm not saying that right. So, do you think they like to be on a north-facing hill, a south-facing hill, a west-facing hill, or an east-facing hill? Why do you think that, Diane? The east side. So this is the deal. I hope somebody has the real answer, because this is the one in between cooking all week, starting roofing the shop on Monday. I'm not a roofer, but I was on the roof, swooping off a 3-tab, which is not called 3-tab anymore. I was corrected, but yeah. I am a little tired. 2 nights of no sleep because my brain clicked on and it didn't click off. I think it is the east side, Diane, and it really is about the sun, how much sun it is getting. So, yeah, Roxy, hopefully you know this answer.
Plant the road east to west.
Yes.
But they're facing the sun, the south.
South. Okay, I think you're correct. I'm going to give you an A on that, but not an A+, only an A. So it really does matter about the direction you plant your rows. And it also matters how close you plant your plants in that row. That really makes a big difference. Because if you plant them very close together, do they have room for that? And the other thing is, for good fruit, have you ever seen a grapevine that has not been trained at all? So I know Rafaela's, because on our walks in the morning, we walk by a house that at some point they built like a little arbor. And then life happened, and no one has trimmed it. It branches, it just grows and it sprawls everywhere across the sidewalk and everything. It is not producing fruit for multiple reasons, where plants that have been planted purposely, they have different systems, are called different things. But if you have a wire running along, or 2 wires, and depending on the farmer's, well, it really comes down to the regions do different ones. So some of them will be a post, and it goes like this, and the wires run this way and this way. Some are a straight wire, posts and 2 wires. And they're called different things, and I'm not going to clutter your brain with those, but because I can't remember. It's the real truth. But it really makes a difference. So I know that you need to have that anchoring system for them to grow well. So we've planted our plants, they are established, they have their roots going down, so they're grabbing those nutrients. And then you have your stalk coming up. And then it sends out these shoots. Do you think we want to keep every shoot? No, we do not. The reason we don't is because if you have all these shoots, it creates multiple things. It creates too much shade, and it takes way too much nutrients, and you're going to get clusters that are half grown or not grown at all. They'll come out and you'll have these little teeny tiny duds. There's a real official name. Once again, my brain ain't remembering. But you are going to be going out there and you're going to be trimming them. In the spring, so Wally never trims his roses until usually March, sometimes April, after all the risk of frost. And then he's going and he's seeing how many shoots are coming up. And even sometimes it's still budlings. And he's counting those little tiny nubs on the dry stalk, because you can see where they're going to burst out. And he doesn't want too many. So he'll run his thumb along and he'll pop off some of those. And then once they start coming out, he'll go out there and he has this great little tool. I use it sometimes on my tomatoes and other things. It's like a little stapler for vines. And it has annoying orange tape that I find everywhere. But he'll go and he'll take it and he'll go around this and the wire and he'll clip and then it pulls out. And so the tape, it's not really tape, but it's a cord system, is holding that vine to that stabilizing wire that is running. And then he's watching them to make sure how they're doing. If one is starting to, they are the most finicky plants. I'll just tell you, if they start looking like they're diseased, he breaks them off. Like he doesn't want them to stay there. He only wants the healthy ones left. And so he's out there hour and hour. How many people have been to my house? A number of you. Bless you. If you look in our backyard, we don't have a huge backyard because we live on 5th Street, okay? We do not live in the country. We have grape plants. And some of them I wanted so they would look pretty, but they are different types. He has different types of grapes back there. And he's out there and he's trimming them. He's training them. He's clipping them. I said, you are acting like my dad that didn't want to be a bunch of girls. You're spending your time outside. He's like, no, I'm tending my grapes. All right. So as these have come, then you'll start seeing little tiny grapes come out. And it's very important that they get pollinized. Now, Rachel, this is a spot question here, okay? Because we're interactive. All right. Have you ever had them come out and you see these baby clusters coming and we have a freeze? Yeah, have you ever seen that? And you're like, yeah. Or a heavy wind. Heavy wind will make it so that they won't pollinate and germinate and grow. Have you ever had that? Can you imagine being in like the windy part of California? Where, like, this is their business, right? And for a wind to happen at the wrong time, when the plant is maturing and trying to develop this fruit, and it wipes it out. Like, you won't get a crop. And so he's always out there looking at those, and they germinate, and then they start to grow. And I can pass this around, but I think I'm just going to leave it here. So I asked him, could you please do 2 things for me since you're not coming and you're roofing? Can you cut me 2 vines? And I told him a while ago, save me some grape clusters. So he did save me some grape clusters, and he grumbled a little bit about cutting this. Why do you think he grumbled about cutting 2 of these things that are going to die anyway? It got cold, not last night, but the night before. We had a frost warning. So many of you probably know, I went to college as an adult after I had children. And I had to take a science class, which I'm not a science nerd at all. Okay, I'm a social butterfly. I love to cook. I love to entertain. I don't like science. Okay? But I learned this one thing, homeostasis. Homeostasis. And it resonated with me because every time I eat, I would get freezing cold. Well, that's a homeostasis because your blood is going to your gut to start digesting your food, so you don't have as much in your extremities. Now, I hope that's truthful because that's what my teacher told me. So I believed him. But that's the same for these grapes. They have the living nutrients running through these vines, and you trim them, and we have a freeze. That plant, because it hasn't been cold, hasn't pulled in yet. And so that part, you could lose a whole branch or section of grapes because you prune them too early. And the frost came. So that's why he doesn't prune until March or April. It's because that homeostasis, it's cold out there, it's drawing into the base of the plant, it's survival mode. It's getting down there into that base so it can survive the winter. And so if you trim too early, it hasn't done that, and you're cutting it off, and then you get a cold spell, and it kills that part that's exposed. And so, but he graciously did that. Well, I told him his thank you was I wasn't going to hold it against him for roofing and not coming and supporting his wife. So we have these. So how much do you think in the summer these vines are trimmed? In the summer, they're growing a lot, right? At least every 3 weeks, he'll go out and he'll top them off. So he's cutting the tops off. So that's just extra energy the plant does not need to put up there, because it doesn't need to grow up here, because we want it to be putting that energy into the fruit. And he's also going and looking, if you had this cluster, which is a dud, because you can tell it didn't mature, and it has a whole bunch of leaves covering it, it does not get the sun. And it will not mature as much, and it will not be as sweet. And so he's always going and de-leafing, and he's taking them off. And I used to say, pick that up and put that in the yard debris. I like my yard spotless. And he's like, nope. I'm like, yes. He's like, no, I'm putting the nutrients back into the ground. So these clippings, he'll take the big ones, but like the leaves, he always leaves the leaves in there. So he's going and monitoring that. And once we see how many clusters we have, he counts how many clusters are for each stalk and each vine. And I think it's only 5 that he leaves on. Like he goes and he drops that fruit. And the reason he's cutting that and dropping it to the ground is, once again, we don't want the plant wasting all of its energy trying to develop all these, because they're not going to end up to be good clusters, nor are they probably going to ripen all the way, because it needs so much energy to get into it so it can ripen and produce decent fruit. So you would think we're scot-free at that point, right? We planted them, we're watching them, we're pruning them, we're nurturing them along, we're dropping our fruit. We should be golden, right? No. What are the things that will impact the fruit at that point? Pests are one, definitely. Anything else? Weather, for sure. What'd you say, Tiffany? Excessive heat, yeah. So heat, water, like rain. So, Donna, can you come help me? So, my dear husband gave me, the pink ones are Pinot Noir, and the gray ones are Gewürz. And I want you to look at them, because, and we can do several trays, and we can put them, I think I brought enough for each table.
Delivering to tables?
Yep, delivering to tables. You can taste them if you want them, but what I want you to look at is, he left me the ones that weren't the best of the bunch. And the reason is, rain happened a couple weeks ago. And once the rain happens, if the sun doesn't hit and the wind come to blow that moisture away, you start getting powdery mildew. Now, do you want to eat powdery mildew? No? No. So always monitoring and looking at that and making sure that the weather that he's going out and he's spraying if he needs to help ward off those things. So then, before he picks, he goes out, he picks a grape, and he has a little meter. And he takes it and he squishes it. And it measures how many bricks of sugar are in a grape. And the reason is, one, you're trying to get to a certain sweetness, right? For different types of grapes are different sweetnesses. And in winemaking, The more sugar, the more alcohol. Because those sugars, the yeast eats the sugar and creates more alcohol. If they're not sweet, it'll be less alcoholic. And so depending on the type of wine you're doing, you want them a certain ripeness. And so once that gets there, you've tested a number of different grape clusters. So vineyards, like huge vineyards, they'll go and they'll get a whole bunch of different clusters of grapes from different areas in the vineyard on that row, and then they squish it together and they measure it as a combination instead of a single. We have such a small area that he's doing just a couple here and there. But in a big industry, that's what they're doing, so that they know that they're going to go and pick at a certain time. So we have grown our plants, we've maintained and trimmed our plants, we've dropped fruit so that we can have the maximized output. We've harvested our fruit, and now we're to the point of November, October. He's going to let them sit and do nothing with them until the spring. And he's then going to start that whole cycle again. So it's very cyclical. So it's going over and over and over that same cycle. You have now exhausted Linda Darling's knowledge of growing grapes. If you know me well, I say Wally is the vintner and the grower, and Linda is just the laborer. I get a labor. So the other part, when we make wine, we press those out. And so you have all these grape seeds and grape shells and stems and everything else that's gone through that process. Once again, that is going back out on all the base of the plants. It is that natural compost going back into the ground to nurture them and to help them grow in that whole cyclical process that continues to go. So did any of you learn something today? I hope it was factual. Oh. There's two different things that I want to do. One is I'm a little sad. I absolutely love cooking for you ladies. And I love my team of Rafaela and Yuli helping. But part of that is we aren't down here listening and participating. We're trying to grasp different things, but I'll just tell you, it really doesn't work. But what I have heard, last night when I was sitting down here, and Kelleen, right? Was I close enough? Oh, shoo. Brought out this fake. Boy, did that hit Linda Darling. Like, I'm a planner, I'm a doer, I'm on it, we can do it. And I said to Angie, dang, I think sometimes I'm producing this instead of this. And it's a daily struggle, And my struggle is, since we've retired and moved into a 38-foot fifth wheel with 3 of us, and 1 bathroom and really 1 bedroom, that my cycle is not the same of what I do every morning when I worked. Like, I got up, I would slip on my exercise clothes, and I'd go for a walk. I would listen to my audio Bible study, and I'd pray. That was my time. Well, I don't have that time anymore. I have a really good prayer time because I spend a lot of middle of the night time, that it's amazing what you can pray and who comes to your mind in the middle of the night. It is, and I just say, thank you, God, that you're giving me these moments to talk to you. But the word back in is the hard part for me right now, because by the time Wally gets up and he gets going, I get up, right? The mama gets up. We get Andy up. Well, then I'm cooking breakfast. I'm hand washing dishes. I'm packing a lunch because we're going on a hike or this or that, right? And the day slips. by. So that's the conviction. I don't want to be this. I want to be this. With that, we have a basket in the back that is a love offering for Kelleen. If you're so led, it is back there. The second thing is, I'm going to pray for lunch, and you're going to give me a few minutes, because I don't see spoons in the salads and stuff, but maybe it's there, okay? So for us to finish setting up. Was there another thing I was supposed to say? No. Okay. I will leave these here. I suggest you take and bring these back up, and I'm going to take them outside, because does anyone believe in fruit flies? They absolutely love these stinking grapes. I'm just telling you. I have little pots of apple cider vinegar with a little squirt of hand soap in it to kill them everywhere. Like everywhere. I buy vinegar by the gallon this time of year. Like we have so many fruit flies you don't even want to breathe because you're going to eat them. So I would suggest you return these, and I'll take them outside, and we'll have a fruit fly fest outside, not inside. So today's lunch is a salad bar, a green salad bar, and we have leftover meat from last night that you can add to that. We have a broccoli salad. We have a peanut Thai veggie pasta salad. We have the cold slaws from last night. We have 3 kinds of soup. We have a butternut squash soup, which is vegan, so I used coconut creams instead of real cream. We have a tomato basil, thank you very much, and the tomatoes are from Grandpa's. Oh my gosh, there's nothing like having a farm fresh tomato. And we roasted them, and oh, are they delicious. That is also vegan, but then I have a second pot of butternut squash that is no onions, no celery, and no garlic, and a few other things, just meaning dietary. And then we have a homemade cream of mushroom soup. We have fresh made sourdough bread that I cooked this morning, and we have French bread that we cooked last night. So the main table is the salads, and then the soups we're going to serve to you from the kitchen. You'll see the window. And then there's a table over here, and that's the bread and the toppings for your soup. Oh, Yuli, totally forgot about the pumpkin seeds. We need to put pumpkin seeds on the soup table. So see how that happens? So I would suggest getting your salad, get a cup of soup, and then come over and get your breads and put the toppings you want on your soup. So suggested toppings. Butternut is cream, and we have a coconut cream, we have a sour cream, and we have half and half. We also have pumpkin seeds, or we will have pumpkin seeds over there that you could sprinkle on top. The tomato soup, I made homemade sourdough croutons that are dairy-free. So, and then some cheddar cheese on top, or feta, that's over there too. And then the cream of mushroom needs nothing. Like that's Julie's specialty, and it's loaded with dairy. Just saying, sisters. It's got butter, and it's got cream, heavy cream, heavy cream. So hopefully you will fill up. I made way too much food, so just do seconds or thirds, please, okay? And let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time to come together. We thank you that you are the vine and we are the branches. We thank you that it's your roots that are going deep, and that life is flowing through you to us. I just pray that you would help us to identify the fake fruit in our lives, and that you would help us to be fruit bearers. I thank you for the food that you provided for us. I thank you for each lady here. I just pray that we would be genuine in our time together, that we would build these relationships. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes, girls. 2 minutes. And then you're going to go this way and you're going to start walking that way, okay?